Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar this morning from Dublin City University. We're focusing on the on-time online update. We have already had a number of webinars and we'll continue to do that over the coming weeks to ensure that you have as much detail as possible around what is happening in DCU, how you can enter your program, and to provide some level of certainty in these very uncertain times. This morning, I will be doing the presenting. My name is Paul Smith and I'm the Director of the International Office at DCU. Joining me on the call are Bridget Carey, who's our Global Recruitment Manager, and Colin Cronin, our Senior International Officer. What they will do is that they will be monitoring the chat room. So if you have queries, please put them into chat. We will not be answering individual questions at the moment. We do appreciate that a number of students have queries that relate to their own circumstances, and we feel the best way to provide a full response to that is by giving it directly to the individual. So if you have individual questions, please email them to int.pg2020@dcu.ie, and we will be able to provide full detail related to your specific queries. From a conduct of this particular meeting, you will see that we have muted your microphones. If you want to mute your camera as well to provide stability, at the moment we have just over 115 participants. So obviously by muting it, it ensures that everybody can hear what is being said and has an option to be able to understand what we are going through. This, as with all of the other webinars, is being recorded and will be available to you after the session. The questions that you put into chat, we will look to identify any themes and we'll come back to those towards the end of the presentation today. The presentation itself shouldn't take more than 20 or 30 minutes, so I thank you for taking the time to attend this morning. As we have already said through communications to you, and as I'm sure you're aware through your own experience in your own country, the current situation for all of us is very uncertain and very uncharted times. We have included links that you can access related to the Irish government and also DCU that provides updates on what the current situation is. And if you want to understand a little more about what is happening in Ireland, they provide good sources of information. We were very encouraged yesterday as part of the briefing from the government that we had no deaths and the number of cases continues to fall dramatically. We are confident, and we take this from the government and the health advice, that we're moving to a situation where there is no community spread of the COVID-19, and we are certainly moving back towards a more normal experience, although all of us appreciate that the new way of interacting and social distancing are likely to stay with us for some time. That being said, we are aware that travel restrictions remain in place. The university itself has a number of activities currently on campus. There is a COVID contact tracing setup, and there is also a current student advice center for exams set up. So they are the only activities currently on campus. There will be a gradual opening of the campus over the coming weeks with a full opening on the 10th of August. A full opening means all buildings will be available and it will be possible to go onto campus. However, that will be in a staged way for each of the offices. The timelines that have been published for the start of semester, the 5th of October, is the beginning of all of our programs for the 2020 academic year. That means that from that point, all lectures will be available online, and that applies to undergraduate, postgraduate, EU and non-EU students. So that facility is being made available to all students on all programs. I will note there that it says that the calendar is subject to change. I think at this point, with clarity around a number of things, that is likely to remain the same, but it is worthwhile keeping an eye on the timetable just to ensure that there is no significant impact. for 2020, what does the offer look like? And I'm hoping that, again, what we're trying to do is to continue to provide clarity for you around what you can expect from DCU during the 2020 academic year, and from the point it starts until the point that you will finish in August 2021. The number of programs that are available through this initiative, through the Online on Time, has expanded. So please take a look at the website, as you will see that there have been additional programs added to the initiative for the coming year. Semester 1 is online. So all of the programmatic offering will be done online for students, and we will move to an on-campus hybrid model for semester 2. Obviously, as the situation changes and the advice from the public health and from the government becomes more encouraging, the expectation is more and more activity will happen on campus. Initially, it will be through small group working, through tutorials, and through lab-based work, and then we'll move to the full lecture experience. This may happen earlier, but what we are stating is that for semester 2, on campus as much as possible, recognizing that there may be a slight hybrid possibility as well. The dissertation practicum, again, the expectation is that will be on campus. If there is a need because of social distancing or any resurgence, then a hybrid model will remain. But obviously our hope and expectation for you as students is that you will have as immersive an on-campus experience as possible. The university, as I hope you will have seen, even through the communications to date, we're trying to provide as flexible a model as possible. One, to provide you time, as we understand that even within your home country, some students are experiencing difficulty in accessing final results, and there has also been a challenge around accessing English language tests. So we are trying to work with you as much as possible to ensure that you can stay on track with your goal to study in 2020. Many students have asked what the academic delivery will look like. I'm hoping that you can take confidence from the fact that DCU has been a leader in digital learning for over 20 years. This is not a new technology, nor is it being implemented in a rush to deal with this current situation. These skills, knowledge, and capabilities are within the university over a number of years. What we're hoping it will allow is for you to have a flexible learning, and that the program will be of the same academic quality. It will be just delivered through a different platform. The digital tools that will be used are VLE, is Loop, which is also, some of you may be familiar through the Moodle platform, and Zoom conferencing software will also be used for Zoom lectures. One key thing that does need to be emphasized is that academics are very much focusing on ensuring that they have interaction with their students. So the academics will be available for one-to-one conversations, for small group meetings, and also for developing any of the skills that you might need that link to your academic program. All content will be available synchronously and asynchronously. So you can either tune in as it is happening, or you can access it through recorded option. If there are questions, there is obviously an option to follow up with the academic and have a debrief conversation. Within the university, even if you are studying at a distance or if you're remotely, you are a student of the university and will have access to all of the supports that are available to all students. The library, already 90% of resources are available through online delivery, through the student portal, and that will not change for this year. In addition, Student Support and Development provide resources such as a writing center, which supports academic writing techniques. For those of you who may need additional support for mathematics, we have a Maths Learning Center. These have already been delivered online to the continuing students for 2019-2020, and they are very sure that the capability of being able to support students exists. We're also aware that many of you are focused on using the knowledge and the qualification gained in supporting your career objectives. The Careers Office will continue to work with students to provide them with CV clinics, one-to-one appointments, and career advice. So that doesn't change whether you're on campus or off campus. And in fact, the Careers Service also provides a 2-year post-graduation support. So this is a mechanism or a way that they have provided their services over a number of years. And as a member of the student body, you will also have access to things like clubs and societies, peer mentoring. There'll be a number of different ways that you can stay connected while also ensuring that you're able to create a network to support you during your first semester and then throughout the rest of your time as a student with DCU. So what is the ask that we have of you? Obviously, you have applied to DCU. You have had a disruption based on the pandemic and how that has interrupted a number of different things that you had anticipated being in place. We're aware that it will take some time for you to make a final decision as to what will work best for you. We did send all offer holders a note last week, which included a link to a Google form. What we are asking is that through that, you make a decision to follow one of the 3 routeways. Either accept an on-time online option for semester 1 and then come to campus for semester 2, defer your offer to 2021-22, and obviously the third option is to withdraw. We have moved the deadline for that decision to the 15th of July. That is to ensure that you have the time to understand what documentation you will have available to you, that you are in a position to be able to apply for visas, and that also from a financial perspective, you're able to make a decision as to whether it is financially viable for you to progress. For each of those choices, there are a number of criteria that we need you to think about. For the on-time online requirements, the requirement fundamentally that has you at the point you're at the moment is that you either have a conditional or full offer available and that you accept that through PAC. In order to progress onto that, you do have to meet all of the conditions that previously applied. We also need you to have applied for a visa prior to commencement of the online studies. And we have also put in place a staggered payment option. In order to access the content, you will have to be a registered student of the university, and we will also be offering an online orientation to provide you with the information about how you access, to introduce you to your program chairs and to your academic coordinators, and also to work to ensure that you have a cohort of students that you're engaged with prior to commencing your work. Broadband and internet service is a requirement, and also that there will be a course timetable. The course timetable, while we have said that the content will be available asynchronously, that you can access at any stage, there will be timelines against submission of work, continuous assessments, and for presentations, and they will have to be adhered to. Should you wish to come to the campus for semester 2, we will work with you to secure accommodation on campus if that is one of your preferences. And for this year, in recognition of the difficulties that people have experienced in trying to access IELTS and other English language tests, Duolingo will be accepted for 2020 only. It is important to note that the Department of Justice have also accepted that this will be a test that they will use for the visa application process. So we are working very closely with the Department of Justice and with the Department of Educational Skills to ensure that we can provide as much support to students wishing to study in Ireland in 2020. Should you wish to defer, what we need you to do is to follow the process as you have to date, in that you will have a full offer, a conditional offer. We do need you to accept that offer and the acceptance of the offer is what determines that you're actually eligible to defer. The payment of the €500 deposit will be needed in order to confirm that that is your decision. And should you have a conditional offer, obviously we will need the additional documentation before July 2021, when you will then move to register in September 2021. What I think is important to note as part of the deferral is that there is no need to put in a new application. Your current application, once it is registered on PAC and accepted, will transfer into the following year. And should you be in receipt of a scholarship or a bursary, the Merit Scholarship or the Humanities Bursary, that will transfer with the deferral. So any offer and current awards that you have for 2020 will also defer to 2021. Should you wish to withdraw, then that again should be done through your PAC application, and you need to withdraw through there. DCU has agreed to refund PAC deposits and tuition fee payments. However, I think what we do need from you is that you request the refund through the Google form that was provided, and that we will then work with the Student Fees Office to process the refunds. We have been told by the Fees Office that this may take some time. We will guarantee that it will be returned, but we have no clear understanding of the date. We expect that it will happen towards the end of June, so there is no need to ask for updates. Once the refund has been processed, we will contact you to confirm that that has been completed. So as it says at the end of this slide, we appreciate your patience to date, but we also ask you to retain that patience and be kind for the 2020 process. Some of you may wonder why still choose DCU in this time of difficulty and time of change. We are still committed to ensuring that you have a very positive student experience. The quality of the qualifications remains the same, and they're still validated through external and through industry validation. You will continue to have access to the supports that I've already outlined, and that we have received confirmation from the Department of Education and Skills that the 1G stamp will apply for students who have studied online for semester 1 and then moved to the hybrid model. So the opportunity to complete your qualification in 2021 and then move to employment in the strong sectors of IT, banking, biomedical devices, and the service industries remains part of what will be available to you from 2021 when you graduate. And again, once you graduate from the university, it should be noted that you will be a graduate of the leader in graduate employability and the 19th for graduate employability in the world. That while the world has changed, the potential and the ability for you to be able to progress to your goals remains intact by following the DCU process. I just wanted to acknowledge and maybe come back to some of the queries that we have received, and a number of questions on to date, and no doubt you may also hold them now yourself. In terms of immigration, the visa offices remain closed. We have been informed that they are due to open, but we do not have a final date for that. They have assured us that as part of the process, they expect a 3-week turnaround time for visas. And as I've already outlined, the students who have studied this year and have had to experience a partial online delivery, and students who will be moving into 2020 who have to have an element of their program delivered through an online mechanism, will remain able to apply for the graduate study scheme. So that option does not become any less valid for the 2020 graduates. The on-time online bursary of €1,000 will apply for 2020 only, and that is in addition to any other awards or scholarships that you may have received. We have agreed the phased payment of a 60%, 40% for semester 1 and semester 2 for this year. And the refund processing will commence in June, and we hope that it will be completed by the end of June, but we have asked for your patience on that and will update you as soon as we are aware that your refund has happened. The webinars to date have focused primarily in the Faculty of Engineering and Computing, and we have also had some that are based on the logistics and this current situation in DCU. Our intention is to continue providing these updates to ensure that you have clarity around what the current situation is, and also some detail around the particular program that you wish to study and the academic content that it will entail. We will be holding webinars for the Faculty of Science and Health and the Faculty of Humanities and Social Science in the coming weeks. And we will also update you in terms of what hybrid looks like, what the online delivery will be, any amendments to the current situation in Ireland, because we understand that it is important that you have a full understanding of the environment that you may be studying in for 2020, and that you rightfully have concerns about your health and well-being, your investment in your education, and your progression post-graduation. All of those three things are hugely important to us as well, and we want to work with you to ensure that we are able to provide the information and clarity that you need to make decisions. The three options that we have outlined in terms of progressing, withdrawal, or deferral obviously comes down to your decision as to what is best for you. Should you continue to have concerns, because there have been many, about what happens if there's a further disruption, your health and well-being has to be paramount in all of this. And if you do have those concerns, the deferral option could be something that you wish to consider and haven't to date. We're confident, and certainly the indications from the government are that the situation in Ireland is improving day by day. The infrastructure that is in place to support anybody who may become sick, and the measures to ensure that the general population do not become sick, will have an impact over the coming year. But the impact we expect it to have is to ensure that your safety and your ability to be able to participate fully in your program will be supported. As I've said in previous webinars, Ireland is still open. It is still a welcoming and safe place. And increasingly, it's becoming a more healthy place. And the health of our citizens, our visitors, and our potential students are all critical aspects to us ensuring that we can continue to welcome students to our programs. If you do have a question related to your own circumstances, the best way to get a response related to that, and a detailed response, is through int.pg2020@dcu.ie. That email address is monitored, and you will receive a response detailing the answers to the questions that you pose. At the beginning, I said that my colleagues are monitoring the chat. So what we will do is we will not have time to go into individual questions, but what we will try to see is if there are any emerging areas or thematic areas that we can provide a general overview of at this point. And then we can move to provide detailed questions once you have submitted them to the int.pg2020@dcu.ie email address. So I'm just going to ask my colleagues, Colm and Bridget, if there is anything emerging from the chat that it should be useful to share with the group at this point.
Thanks, Paul, and thanks for all that information. I think it was really comprehensive and hopefully useful for everyone. And I just want to say, again, thanks to everyone for joining the call today. And, you know, we hope that you're well and healthy and your families are all safe. And we just want to thank you for your continued interest in DCU, and hopefully we can, you know, provide any information that you might need. So do get in touch with us. I suppose Paul covered a great deal of information in the presentation, and I think really sort of some of the themes that are coming through the chat have been addressed. One of the things maybe I just wanted to call out as well is that in addition to contacting us with queries, please do feel free to contact your program chairs if you need further information, particularly about the academic content of your programs. They certainly are very willing to help and to answer questions that may be there in terms of the delivery of the program or what you might expect. So certainly don't hesitate to reach out to them if that would be helpful. Paul, I'm wondering, one of the main questions that's really come through is around sort of the idea of a hybrid model and what that actually means. I don't know if it would be useful maybe just to take a minute to talk a little bit about what we envision sort of a hybrid model actually looking like.
Okay, thanks, Bridget. The hybrid that we're talking about there is really that it's a phased reintroduction to on-campus teaching. At the moment, as I'm sure you're all aware, there is a 2-meter distance, social distancing policy in place. What that effectively means is it limits the capacity in a number of the rooms that we have on campus. As that changes, the limit in the rooms increases. So the focus for hybrid is that there's a recognition that students do want to have face-to-face, they do want to have group teaching, and they want to have an ability to interact with their fellow students. The hybrid model is trying to provide a mechanism to deliver that in a flexible way, starting small and eventually moving to a situation where we have full classroom-based interaction. The start of that process is that we will be putting in place tutorials and small group work. Small group work means that the groups will be no more than 15 to 20 students, and they will work with the academics on the content of the program. The other area that is included in hybrid is any lab-based activity. So access to labs, that will probably be done on a rota basis as part of the timetable. So in the first instance, rather than having free access to a lab on a continual basis, you'll have allocated time to be able to access the labs that you need to complete any work that you have. So the idea of the hybrid is that it is unlikely that there will be one day where we move from a situation of social distancing present to social distancing gone, but it is likely it'll reduce over time. So as that moves, then the hybrid model allows for more and more larger classroom-based activity. But the intention is that from day one, that there will be on-campus deliverables, there will be class group work, there will be face-to-face with academics, and there'll be access to critical equipment. So, and that will increase over time. It's expected that the hybrid model will start in the semester 1. However, that is where we expect the face-to-face or the size of the groups to be quite small, possibly 10 students within a room, and it'll also be timetabled across. So it's not guaranteed that students will have full week access to the academics or to classroom or to lab-based materials. And that is one of the critical reasons why we're suggesting online for semester 1, to allow us the time to move from a situation where it's limited to a more comprehensive interaction between the academics, the students, the labs, and student to student or peer-to-peer interaction.
Thanks, Paul. I think that was really useful to outline to students and give them an overview I know that there's obviously for students some uncertainty around semester 2, and we don't have all the answers to that at the moment. But I know that DCU is engaged in scenario planning, and I know that DCU has been liaising closely with a number of the other units, for example, Department of Justice regarding visas and immigration. And while we can't, predict the future, I think it might be useful, Paul, if students could hear a little bit maybe about scenario planning that DCU is engaging in, the fact that we really are taking it seriously, and we are looking to help students, and we will address this in future webinars. It's not like this is the only opportunity for students to get the information.
No, so just in terms of scenario planning, we have looked at a number of different futures that may exist. One is that the virus, there is a vaccine and it disappears, and we return to what life was like in September 2019. At the other end, we are looking at what will happen if there is a second wave or another pandemic that impacts on the delivery of the education on campus. I think what we have done is we have learned, and I think all of both the health and the education sector in Ireland have learned a great deal in the last number of months. The initial reaction had to be a close down because we did not understand the virus or how it would impact on our students, their well-being, or the functioning of the university. A considerable amount has been learned, and there's a considerable amount of research into the COVID-19 virus being done on the DCU campus. We don't expect that even within the scenario planning that the impact will be as great. One, because the health system has been restructured to allow for any additional virus should it happen. The university has a better understanding of how it needs to develop its on-campus delivery, and also that there perhaps may not be a need for large classes of 400. I know in some universities you could have in a class of 400 to 500 students. That's not the case. That's not actually the case in DCU. We pride ourselves on having small classes and direct personal interaction with the academics. So I think that we have taken the last number of months to learn. That's impacting on our scenario planning. So perhaps the two extremes of the scenarios that were initially there are being removed, and we're moving more towards a situation where even should things come back or there's a resurgence for semester 2, that we have the health system in place to ensure that anybody who does get ill is going to be supported and provided for. The academic campuses are going to be reconfigured to allow for more flexible teaching. And there was also going to be a far greater ability for us to develop things like micro communities. So I think even with things returning, it will be different, but the quality, the content, and the qualifications will be enhanced rather than impacted in a negative way. So the scenario planning at this point is really about trying to ensure that the maximum amount of appropriate on-campus interaction is balanced with health and safety of students and staff.
Great. Thanks, Paul. I think that was very clear, hopefully for students. And as Colm said, we will continue to be in contact with you as situations develop and as decisions are made. Our main objective is to make sure you have all the information at hand to make the decision that's right for you. So hopefully we'll continue to do that through this process. That being said, I think we've covered sort of the main thematic areas where there have been kind of a number of questions come through. We understand that there are still other questions or specific questions that students might have. And as we said at the beginning, I think the best thing to do is really try to send those through our email inbox. int.pg2020@dcu.ie. Please know that there is a high volume of emails coming through that inbox, so we are trying to respond as quickly as we can. But again, we really appreciate your understanding and patience as we kind of work through some of these new questions that we haven't had to deal with before. So that's, I think, kind of the main stuff from us. I do want to let you know that the PowerPoint and the recording of this webinar will be made available. So if you want a copy or want to review it again, just let us know and we'll send you the recording and the PowerPoint slides. So Paul, I don't know if there's anything else from your side that you would like to say before we wrap up.
All I would like to say is thank you all for taking the time to join this webinar this morning. Given the number of people who participated, I understand that there is still an interest in DCU and the programs that we offer. From our side, we can only continue to emphasize that the quality of the program that you decide to follow has not been impacted. The skills shortage that exists in a number of areas will remain, and in some cases may even have increased as a result of the COVID-19. The ability for you to be able to pursue a career in Ireland following your qualification remains intact. We have a situation where the delivery for part of your program will be different to what you expected, but the outcomes, I think, for all of you should still allow you to stay on track with your goals that you selected DCU in the first place. So anything that we can provide information on, as Bridget has said, related to the logistics, your own personal application, or any of the choices around the online on time, the withdrawal or the deferral, the international office through that email will be very happy to respond to. We have been overwhelmed by the amount of interest from our academics to engage directly with students around their academic content. And they are encouraging you to contact them should you want to know more about what will be covered, how it will be delivered, and what you can expect as a student of their program. So hopefully between those two different aspects, we can provide reassurance of process. They can provide reassurance of quality of qualification. And hopefully together that will enable you to make the decision that is best for you for 2020 and beyond. So thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. Do look out for upcoming webinars, both from a academic content perspective and also from a logistics point of view. And all I can do is wish you and your families health and safety in the coming times. Thank you.